presentation will be entered into evidence unless objections are made. After the evidence, I will make a ruling. It will be reduced to writing and mailed to you at the address that the city has or any additional address that you provide us. At this point, we will swear in the witnesses. If you intend to testify on behalf of your case or you have any witnesses, please raise your right hand to be sworn in. You swear or affirm that the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Good afternoon.
Our first case, 19-49. We're happy to announce that it is in compliance, but I would like to enter into the record the stipulation agreement between the city and Salon Enterprises, who is here if they want to add anything.
Okay. So the city has entered into a stipulated settlement agreement with the respondent in this case. Is that correct? And what is it that the city is asking for the magistrate to do?
There is a prior lien order that was recorded on the public records that the city would ask be rescinded at this time, and the matter closed due to the cases in compliance as stipulated in that agreement. That compliance has already been achieved, and the case was closed on the code enforcement end. So the last step in this stipulation is to have the lien order released, rescinded. Thank you.
And is that the understanding of the respondent, and to rescind the prior lien order?
Yes, it is. We appreciate the city working with us.
Okay, then I'll go ahead and have that order rescinded, enter an order rescinding the prior lien order. And you'll get that eventually sent in the mail. Give your representative. Yes, sure that gets. Okay. That order will be rescinded pursuant to the stipulation for settlement.
Our next case is 21-08, 1700.
So first I have one exhibit for you. This is the affidavit and the notice of hearing for the Massey hearing. And you are, I'm sorry? Go ahead and put your name in the record. I am Officer May Bright, the Titusville Code Enforcement. The case number is 21-08. This is for 1700 Chaucer Road. So you've handed me the Massey hearing posted notice of hearing. So this is the affidavit of notice of hearing and the notice of hearing for today's hearing. Correct. I will enter this for this hearing. So this case was originally heard at the March 8th special magistrate hearing. There 4 violations were ordinance section 13-28, dead, diseased, or damaged trees, International Property Maintenance Code subsection
302.4 for weeds and overgrowth, property maintenance code subsection 302.7, the accessory structure, a wooden fence. And we've got the International Property Maintenance Code subsection 304.6, exterior walls of the house. So the respondent did not attend the last meeting. And my inspection, this is our posting of hearing, March 16th. Condition of the property has not changed. Overgrowth remains on the property. The dead and diseased tree and bushes remain. No work has started on the house nor to the fence on the property.
That was all supposed to be done by 9.
April 9th, yes, ma'am.
Have you had any communications with the respondents since that last hearing?
No, ma'am.
What is your recommendation?
I would like to move forward with imposing the fines as previous ordered.
$25 per day per violation, April 10, 20. And then also there was a cost statement of
Yes, ma'am.
last year. Okay, so I will, no one is here to speak on that. I will go ahead, and the testimony is that there's been no changes, that the violations of all 4 violations remain. I will go ahead and make an order of finding that there has been no compliance with the prior order of March 9, 21. Entered last hearing will be imposed costs in the amount of $174.83.
No, ma'am. Thank you.
Good afternoon, welcome back.
Good afternoon, thank you.
I'm Officer Hutchins. I'm here to present for the Massey hearing, case 21-9. And I would like to first submit for evidence the affidavit notice of hearing as 1 and the posting as 2.
Handed me a affidavit of notice of hearing and the notice of hearing, which I'll accept as Exhibit 1. It is okay. Okay. Enter it all as Exhibit 1. Proper notice was provided.
Yes.
Okay.
Again, this is a Massey hearing for 21-9. The respondent is David Brian Taylor. The violation address, 1409 Overlook Terrace, Titusville, Florida. Also mailed to the same address, posted on, well, in this scenario, it was initially posted on property. As I was about to take a photo, the individual whom resides there had come out and had taken it out of the ground and basically took it before I could actually get a photo of it. And the violations still stand with regards to inoperable, unlicensed. There were 2 vehicles that are the same as the initial case that have not been either one brought to running condition or recently tagged that I had seen.
So no tags and don't appear to be operable.
Correct.
had any with the,
Yes, while I was on site, a brief confrontation, if
is
you will.
that since the last hearing?
Yes, when I went to post for the Massey is when the individual had come out and confronted me.
Any statement about the vehicles at all?
No. No, ma'am.
And the prior order was that they were compliance by April 9, correct?
Yes.
And your inspection was when?
My inspection was actually this morning as I had driven by.
Tony, I find that the not come into compliance with the prior order. Fine will be imposed in the dollars per day per violation.
Yes,
Violation.
correct.
And the costs shall be imposed.
No, ma'am. Thank you.
Before the next case begins, Special Magistrate, there are respondents present for the 1200 Pine Valley Lane property.
Okay.
Morning, this is case number 21-12, the initial hearing for 1200 Pine Valley Lane. I have 3 exhibits for you. The first exhibit is the affidavit, notice of violation. The second is the affidavit for the notice of hearing. And the third is the cost recovery statement in the amount of $245.27.
That's a little higher than normal. Why is that a little bit higher? Do you know? Do you recall?
Possibly for the number of visits,
Looks like number of inspection hours was a
I
little
believe
higher.
so.
Okay, I will admit that into evidence as exhibits 1, 3. Joan,
No, ma'am.
you're present, then they might want to show. Right, those are admitted. All right, so the respondents on this case are Perry Williams, Erlene Williams, and S.E. Evans Jr. The violation address is 1200 Pine Valley Lane. It is also the mailing address. The violations, there are 3 of them. First one is Code Section 6-56, construction permits required. The second is Section 28-391. This is for residential accessory buildings and structures, the zoning requirements. And then Section 28-304. This is specifically single-family medium-density zoning ordinance dealing with where this property is located. So the initial inspection of the property was conducted by myself and Officer Frank Lewis in connection to an executed search warrant by the Titusville Police Department. Backyard of the property was found to contain multiple accessory structures built without permits. They were located within rear and side yard zoning setbacks, as well as utility drainage easements, and on adjacent properties. The primary structure, the house, and accessory structures were found to have electrical, plumbing, and mechanical work installed, again without required permits. There was a chicken coop on property with 12 animals, and it was found without the required city permit, and again located within setbacks and on adjacent properties. In the front yard, parked in the grass, was a four-door sedan without license plates. The little case summary. The initial inspection was conducted on April 21st, 2020. The notice of violation was posted on property the next morning, April 22nd, 2020. Notices to the respondents, certified and first-class letters were mailed April 23rd, 2020. And the certified was signed for on May 2nd of 2020. The notice of hearing was posted at City Hall and on the property on March 16th, 2021. Certified mail was mailed on March 10th, 2021, and it was signed for, the certified mail was signed for on March 22nd of 2020. So date given to comply was June 22nd of 2020. So initial contact was received from Deborah Williams. She's a niece of the owner on May 6th of 2020. At that time, she stated she'd be assisting with correcting violations on the property. Ms. Williams was given contact information for Titusville Building and Planning Departments. Ms. Williams had a meeting with Steve Adams and Brad Parrish and discussed permitting requirements. She was instructed to get a survey of the property and schedule a follow-up meeting. On August 25th of 2020, Ms. Williams emailed a copy of the new survey of the property to the building and planning departments with a request for the follow-up meeting. Brad Parrish with the planning department responded to her email on August 26th with review comments, a marked up survey outlining what was needed to be moved or removed, and the code sections, again, that they received with the notice of violation. I've been corresponding with Ms. Williams by phone and emails over the last several months, and she assisted with scheduling inspections of the backyard with one of the owners, S.E. Evans Jr. The last contact I had with Ms. Williams was December 1st of 2020, and I had sent her information on the Titusville Building Department's online permitting system. I have had contact with one of the owners. That was S.E. Evans Jr., and he provided access into the backyard for an inspection on October 10th, November 20th of 2020, and January 11th of 2021. So multiple follow-up inspections were completed. First one, August 6th of 2020.
August 21st of 2020, October 10th of 2020, November 20th of 2020, January 11th of 2021, and again on March 16th of. So the three main follow-up inspections, October 10th of 2020, we had an inspection of the backyard. Officer Ken Hutchins and I met with S.C. Evans Jr. and Deborah Williams. And it was found that demolition had started on multiple structures in the backyard and on the decking in the backyard. The chicken coop remained in the rear setback. No animals were found on the property at that time. Mr. Evans and Ms. Williams were instructed to submit permit applications for the electrical and plumbing work for that previously installed, and for any decking and accessory buildings that they have in the yard and wanted to keep or to build new. The second inspection was November 19th of 2020, which I completed inspection with S.E. Evans Jr. The chicken coop and unlicensed vehicles had both been removed from the property. There was a white storage building observed during the initial inspection along the west property line. That once remained on the property. Mr. Evans stated he had plans to remove that from the yard over the next 30 days. There was an enclosure for the dog built in the northeast corner of the property, and a foundation for a new 12 by 20 storage building had been started along the east side of the property, as well as a layout for the new decking of what he wanted to keep was also out. I instructed at that time for Mr. Evans to don't move forward with any additional work on any of the buildings and structures, but to submit the survey of what they wanted to do and a permit application for both the electrical and plumbing that was previously done, and then for any of the new deck and have it reviewed. So on January 11th of 2021, the third and final inspection of the backyard was completed. It was Officer Frank Lewis and myself with S.E. Evans Jr. The white storage building along the west property line had not been removed, and two new accessory structures, each under 120 square feet, were found built. No additional work?
New structures?
Yes. Structures. No additional work was found to the decking or to the 12 by 20 storage building foundation along the east side. Again, I instructed Mr. Evans to stop any additional work on the building and structures until permit applications had been submitted and permits have. At this time, there's been no application submitted for the previous work done, nor for any of the structures on the property. So our code definition, our code sections defined. Section 6-56, this is the construction permit required. Shall be unlawful for any person to construct, alter, repair, remove, or demolish, or to commence with the construction, alteration, repair, removal, or demolition of a building, swimming pool, or structure in the city without first obtaining a formal permit from the building official.
Which structure?
Well, I need to show you in the pictures. A little bit easier when I pull the pictures up to show you what's applied to which.
Right, and then it kind of interplays with the other violations, doesn't it? Because
it's all wrapped in together. So your zoning violations and your building construction permit, they're not going to issue that construction permit without the zoning requirements also being followed. So
if there's buildings there that they're not going to have them go permit buildings.
I'm sorry, can
The
you
city's not
repeat
going
that?
to want them to get permits for buildings that shouldn't be there, right?
Correct.
There's some buildings, aren't you saying there's some buildings that shouldn't be there at all?
What I'm saying is if they, for the buildings they have in their backyard, if they want to keep them, they need to submit that permit and that survey to the Building and Planning Department showing the locations of that construction to get that approval. It was done without permit or without approval for the zoning. So to be able to keep it, they need to prove that they're in compliance with the zoning and the building codes.
Is it one of the violations that they've maximum?
Correct. Correct. But I think once I get into the pictures, you'll see kind of where our progression of the 3 inspections of what we initially found and then what's currently there. So section 28-304. This is the single-family medium density zoning district. That's the property is located within the R1B, family medium density zoning district. It's designed as a district for primary use of medium density single-family dwellings. The purpose of the district is to promote orderly and properly development of the single-family residential units together with certain structures and uses that are compatible with property in this district. It is further intended that government, religious, recreational, and other immediate needs of the district are served while a quality environment is provided for the resident of this designation. So the specific section under 304 that they are in violation of is the maximum building coverage. Only 35% of the lot is allowed to be covered by the primary structure. So zoning section 28-391, this is for residential accessory buildings and structures. So these are specifically for those additional structures built in the backyard. So the cumulative area of all accessory buildings and structures, excluding swimming pools, pool enclosures, will not exceed 50% of the square footage area of the primary structure. Section E, subsection E, a building permit is required for all accessory buildings and structures. Caveat, accessory structures not exceeding 120 square feet and are not physically anchored shall not require a building permit, but they still must comply with the zoning regulations, so setbacks, things of that nature. No accessory structure or equipment, such as permanently installed generators, shall encroach into any utility or drainage. And then the last, accessory buildings and structures shall meet the standards for the zoning district in which they are located. Rear setbacks are 5 feet from the property line, and side setbacks for accessory buildings and structures are also 5 feet. So in preparation for the initial inspection, we looked at our Eagle View photos from the Brevard County Property website. What we're looking at, the gray roof is the primary structure. And everything in the backyard, all those structures were installed without permit.
Everything, so is
So
the
the blue
blue
square-
line, does that represent the boundaries of the
Yes.
lot?
Approximate boundary of the property.
Your testimony that the building boundaries.
So this is from the initial inspection taken on August 21st, 2020. This is the front of the primary structure of the house. Here we have the van that was parked in the front yard without plates attached.
That's not relevant. Bypass.
So we're heading towards the backyard. The backyard was completely fenced by a wooden privacy fence. So from the street, you could not see that So we are looking at the rear of the house, looking west. This is deck and fire pit area, and we are now structures along the western property line, and the large structure at the rear. So this is one of two storage buildings that are set in drainage and are against western property. That 5-foot zoning setback. Inside these buildings, there was electrical installed. Inside the building, electrical installed. This is a water hose bib installed by the chicken coop. Again, this was additional plumbing installed without permit. This is the large, call it the pool house at the back of the property. Again, electrical installed without permits, and the back of the structure is directly against the fence. We have a condenser unit installed for the pool house structure. Our chicken coop that had 12 animals in it. It was located again within zoning or setbacks, as well as the drainage.
That's not an issue.
So this is the large structure in the rear. This was a structure built around the pool house, and this is no longer. No, ma'am.
That's not an issue.
Was another accessory structure located in the side setbacks with plumbing, electrical, and mechanical installed. And 2 more accessory structures installed in this primary setback. So this is the sub panel on the back of the house, which was installed without permits. Inside the house had 2 panels, a wire or tankless water heater, all installed without permits for the electrical and the plumbing. So this is the posting of notice of violation on April 2nd. So this is the first inspection, October 19th, 2020. So demolition had started on the majority of the structures. The white storage building in the side setback remained.
Are they doing all the work themselves, or
Yes.
they hired contractors?
It was done by themselves and I believe associates and friends of the. So this shows just electrical still in place. So what we have here is the layout of what they wanted for their decking, the November 20th inspection. So November 20th, the white building remains, and layout has started for decking. Well as this is the, there we go. This is the new storage building foundation, 12 by 20.
An violation.
Correct.
All being without permit.
Dog. So January 2011 was the final inspection of the backyard that I've completed. These are the 2 new storage buildings. They were measured. They're both under 120 square feet This is the foundation to the 12 by 20 storage building. A little bit of additional work. They had started decking over the foundation. Still, they had removed everything out of the eastern side of the house. And this is posting of hearing on March 6th, 2020. So,
Get your recommendation.
yeah. Apologize. Based on testimony and the evidence 21-12, determined that the respondents, Perry Williams, Airline Williams, and S.E. Evans Jr. are the owners of the recorded property located at 1200 Pine Valley Lane, located in Titusville, Florida, as determined by the property appraiser's records, are in possession and control of the property, was in violation of Titusville Code of Ordinance Section 5-56, 28-391, and 28-34. It is further recommended that the respondents correct the violations on or before May 7th of 2025. In order to correct the violations, respondents must obtain a permit for previously installed electrical and plumbing work and to construct and locate accessory structures on the property as per City of Titusville specifications, or remove all unpermitted work and structures from the property. Or order the respondents to be assessed the administrative costs in the amount of $245.20. The respondents do not comply by March 7th of 2021, a fine of $200 per violation per day should be imposed for each day the violation continues. The respondents need to contact myself to arrange for an inspection once the violations have been corrected.
I do have a small bit of information to add as well, unless you'd like to ask your questions now.
By construct and locate.
So they need to prove where they're building the structures are in compliance with the Titusville ordinance. So setbacks, drainage, utility easements, and that they comply with the maximum coverage.
And properly.
Okay, this property was previously heard about a year ago by the Code Enforcement Board under case number 20-08. However, my office, in working with the code enforcement staff, did not find that a Massey hearing notice was provided. And the subject of case number 20-08 was similar in nature. And when we discussed the nuances of this case, we decided that we would proceed with the new case, which you're hearing today. And I would like to also ask that in the deliberation and order of this matter that you consider rescinding the order imposing fine related to case number 20-08 at my request.
Right, so there was an initial hearing.
There were two hearings, but the second hearing did not get proper notice, is my understanding. And that was in March 9, 2020 was the second hearing in the case related to 20-08. The facts were slightly different because so much has happened in the past year. With this case, this is the initial hearing for case number 21-12, but I just wanted to give you that history and also ask for the rescinding of the prior order. Thank you.
21-08 was, again, construction without permits. They had altered a screened-in porch, had installed windows, and made it into living space without required permits.
Part of my order. Those. Gosh, oh. are right on the, on the conditions as they currently exist.
Yes.
Code. Residential accessory buildings and structures. You highlighted section C. Of the cumulative area of all accessory buildings or structures excluding swimming pools and pool enclosures shall not exceed 50% of the square foot area of the principal structure. The cumulative area of all accessory structures or buildings shall not exceed 50% of the square foot area of the principal structure. You know what the square foot area of the principal structure is?
Not bring those figures. Guys.
According to the Brevard County Property Appraiser records, the base area is 1,070 square feet. There's an enclosed porch that's 336 square feet and an open porch 65. So if all of that was included, the total sub area would be 1,471 square feet.
Not exceed 50% of that. And is it your testimony that cumulative area of all accessory buildings, structures located on the rest of the property exceed 50% of 1,471 square feet?
They have not proven that it does not exceed that. So without permits.
That's not how it works.
So I would. So I don't know.
Well,
Without a final.
I mean, I mean, I'm not saying you have to have an exact number. You have an expertise, you have an eye, and you can view what is
I
existing
do
out
feel
there.
that the layout as of what we saw on January 11th as to where the accessory buildings, the ones, with the layout of the 12 by 20, in addition to where they wanted the decking to go from the back of the house to these primary structures, would exceed that 50%, yes.
Sure, absolutely, but also that she's also cited two other provisions of 28-3 and that may solve the issue. I know that code officer out there as well.
Just need one, like, 5 minutes.
That's fine. I also like to take. Thank you. We'll go off the record. 5 minutes. All right, go back on. Officer Wright. So with the three accessory structures that I did measure for the 12 by 20, and then these two buildings, they would exceed that 50%. Okay, so what's out there now are these two structures. Yes, ma'am. And then what else? The foundation for the 12 by 20. Or as of January 11th, when I was last out there. Now, I thought you had testified March 16th was your last inspection. That's when I posted the notice of hearing and notice of hearing for today's hearing. Right, and then the other subsections of 20-391, section E, a building required for structure not exceed not physically. So the foundation of the 12 by 20 that they've constructed would trigger the requirement of a building permit for that structure, whereas the 210 buildings are under the 120 square feet. They do not require a building permit, but any electrical, plumbing, and setbacks would still apply to these structures. Okay. So they would require a permit for the electrical and plumbing, but not building. Not for the building, but they would have to still comply with the zoning requirements. Okay, and then subsection G, accessory buildings and structures shall meet the zoning district and following exceptions, rear yard setbacks for accessory structure. And does it of the exception kick in? The accessory buildings and structures, even if they do not require a building permit, still need to that 5-foot. Problem with these two buildings are they are in a setback. They are in a setback. They are on the property. I don't believe they're in the setback, but there is a drainage utility easement that they would need to locate on their survey to prove that they're located outside of it. So you don't know if I don't currently know. Oh, ma'am. And then the other code violation. So what's the difference? So we have the permit required 6-56. So what's the difference with that violation and 20-391's requirement for permit? So zoning and building are just, they both have regulations that you need to comply with for those structures. So a construction permit covers anything dealing with the physical construction of the building, whereas zoning deals with the physical location, size, location, etc. of the building. So they're a component of each other. So when they issue a building permit, they're also looking at those zoning requirements as well. And so issued a permit, you must meet the requirements of both building and zone. Other violation is 28-304, single family medium density, R1B. And it's contention that the building coverage exceeds the maximum density just 35% of the lot area. You're saying it's by the primary structure? And explain to me how determined that it has exceeded 35%.
That was through on the survey that was submitted. The primary structure came back on the new survey in excess of that 35%.
How big is the primary structure?
I not bring that new survey with me, so I can't.
Okay, I'll hear from the respondent. If you'd like to come forward. Can you give your name and your address?
My name is S.E. Evans Jr., 1200 Pine Valley Lane.
I'm Deborah Williams, regarding, here for Erlene Williams, 1200 Pine Valley Lane.
And you are the niece?
Yes,
Yes.
unfortunately, yes.
Unfortunately.
Fortunately, unfortunately, yes.
And Mr. Evans, you reside at this property?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Williams, do you reside there?
No.
Okay. So what can you tell me what's going on with the property?
So, my understanding, and I have been communicating a lot, and she, Officer May, right? But I know on our initial visit that we had, and I guess the understanding was, one, everything probably needed to go, but also anything that was over 120 square feet or had electrical or had plumbing needed a permit. Anything that was under 119 or no electrical, no plumbing did not require a permit. From that time forward, actually, everything did go away, kind of removed everything, knocked everything down. What is still remaining is the two accessory buildings. One is a smoker, which is under one,
Yes,
I guess it's 88 square feet. And the other, the smaller accessory, which is, which tools are in there, is what? It is under 120.
this other one.
However, there's no electrical and no plumbing under two remaining accessories, so a permit hadn't been submitted. Now, we were looking at an accessory building of 20 by 10, is that what you said, 20 by 10? So I guess he has the foundation laid out, but had not constructed anything, and from that time until now, I'm not sure if he's gonna put a building up, but if he does, he knows that he has to get a permit. So it is not within the setback. So the two remaining buildings there, I guess because we were under pressure that it was under 119, you didn't need a permit, it didn't have any electrical, it doesn't have any plumbing, so it didn't require a permit, and it's not within the setbacks. Everything that was over the line has been removed.
Except the shed. The shed, we're trying to get it hauled off.
Yeah, the one accessory that is non-compliant, which, that we spoke on, that we saw in the picture, which is in the setbacks, I guess the plan was having it moved.
Yes, somebody, the guy that was actually working for me had bought it from me. He's supposed to have a shed moving company come out and remove it. But.
And that has not been removed.
dragging.
Okay, so the shed, is that one of the items that was?
That's in the
Yeah.
setbacks.
In the setbacks.
That still
That's the
remains
last-
out
That's
of,
the last setback.
has not brought the property in compliance.
So
But
as far as your position is, the only thing in your mind that's still a violation would be that shed, and you've got some arrangements to
Yeah.
have that removed.
Right.
And you think you can have that totally gone by,
I need a couple, he was supposed to have been had it done, but I told him I want to give him like 2 more weeks. If he don't, I'm just gonna tear it down and just be done
So
with it.
30 days, you could have
Yeah.
that shed removed.
There is foundation up, I guess, up as far as where he's anticipating, I guess, putting
put-
decking. But the decking, it hasn't been laid out. And even due to whatever may happen, even those plans or the layout may change. So I know I guess they're supposed to be, you can't exceed, 30 or 50% of property? The decking is not down. The layout is, but the decking is not down. But technically, if you look on property right now, you're gonna see dirt. Other than wood of where the layout is, you're gonna walk in, there's nothing covered. You're gonna walk out there and you're gonna still see land.
So what is it, just like,
You know how you measure, well, I want this to be 6 by 2, so that's laid out there of where you're gonna put decking in, or whatever. So the layout of how he wants the decking to be, I'm thinking that's what
Yeah,
is there.
we did a framework where we didn't cover it.
But
it's
nothing's
just like,
covered.
it's just framework?
Yeah.
Yes.
Wooden framework?
Wood frame, right.
Yes.
Okay. Is
And
that what,
that's supposed to be there. When it's supposed to start doing.
is that what it looks like now? Just in this
Heck, I don't
picture?
even know if that's still there. Is that covered part right there still there?
No, I think we pulled that back up.
Yeah, so it's pretty much open,
It's just the framing.
just the
Yes.
framing, yes.
And was that an issue of being in the
The decking?
setback or in a
Well, the
drainage
issue with the
easement?
decking was being maximum
yeah, we
coverage
pulled that
of
off.
property, so it exceeded the maximum allowance of what could be covered. But that included the decking.
And we tore down the chicken coop and all of the other stuff is, pool house, all that's gone.
Right, that's great. It seems like you were responding.
Yeah, I was trying, but
And I did lag, and although and May has been talking to, trying to walk me through it as far as doing the permits, but I guess I was like, what is the size of these buildings? If they're within compliance and they're not any electrical or any plumbing, you don't have to put in permits. But I
I didn't like.
guess I find it to do what I need to do and just do it.
So I'm going to talk to the city for just one officer, right? So it's the respondent's testimony that there's no electric or plumbing in those two accessory structures.
From what I, they have lights and outlets run up to those buildings.
You can just stay up here.
I'm powered by, gotta actually physically plug it in, all that, my stitches. Yeah, so that's all. Yeah, it's hand wire, how to plug, go to the wall and plug.
But that would mean that there's some kind of electric.
Guys, and from that.
Oh, from the outside?
Yeah, you plug right next to that, right there. Where they- Side of the house where we got the outlet on the house, that she was talking about, we gotta get the permit for. Get a shot of the electrical. House. Outside. Right there, it's a plug right on the side of that. Oh, that's where it plugs in. But even that, I can have the electrician supposed to come out and get his, I got her what he did his walkthrough, but I gotta get him to come back out and go back over everything. As he was moving.
And it's your testimony that in the 88 square foot structure and the other one that's under 120 that you say you're storing tools, there's absolutely, within those two structures, there's no electric.
No, it's electric running, but it's all dormant until you plug it in. It's all wired into a
Wired.
plug.
It is wired.
Yeah,
I see, okay.
yeah. But it's not powered until you plug it in.
And then the plumbing?
No,
The
no problem.
plumbing was in the house itself. It was work done in relation to a leak,
Yeah, we got to, yeah.
and it was never permitted.
We didn't know, that was like 2 years ago, we had that put in, didn't have no, it was on the weekend, and they had burst. I said, that was her custody of the house that was put.
Right. All right, so at this point, what Officer Wright, for the foundation issue, it looks like there's just framework. And
There were, the foundation, they sunk posts and concrete was applied to that foundation. Construction has physically started on that 12 by 20.
That was the last thing we had done. That was just to get a reference so that the posts were concreted in and that they were not, that they were secure.
is that where you had decking before that was removed?
No.
And it's your testimony that's not going to be for a building, that's going to be for decking?
It started out, the foundation started out for the 12 by 20 shed, 20 by 12 shed, but we decided not to do it. So it's just, right now as it is, it's just frame. So we actually go in and shorten the frame from a 20 by 12 and make it smaller than what it is now.
Okay. What is a violation, just having some framing?
What was presented to me, the intent of that foundation,
Can't really find a violation based on what their intent is. If they're testifying to me that their intent isn't something else. But I'm not saying that may not fall into a violation based on what codes you've cited. I just don't know it is within the codes you've cited.
If I may, 656 in the city's code of ordinances says it shall be unlawful for any person to construct, alter, repair, remove, or demolish, or to commence the construction, alteration, repair, removal, or demolition of a building, swimming pool, or structure in the city without first obtaining a formal permit from the building official. The city's contention with 656 being cited for this property is that there's never been an application for a building permit to the building official. And the city would ask that since so many different structures have come and gone within the past year, and the size and locations of these structures have not been verified with the zoning to conform with R2, we would ask that the owner apply for a building permit in order to continue with the construction of the deck or any other accessory structures in the backyard that exceed 120 square feet. Building official is not in the room right now.
It seems that whatever work has been done, and I'm not a building official, that perhaps that should have required a permit. There, if that's what your testimony is, whatever the intent is for the work to be done, probably should have required a permit, but I don't want to make a guess. I would like some testimony for that.
Correct. Well, we do have the testimony that the electrical work was done without a permit. The plumbing, as the respondent testified to, was without permit. The fact that we've started construction of the foundation or bed or whatever that framework is, was started without a permit. It is put in the ground with concrete. Even if they were to cut it back and they permanently attach a structure to that, that's going to require a permit. The code said,
If it's a 120 square feet.
well, it says,
We cut it back.
yes, but it also says 110 square feet. That's,
Permit, right?
well, no, if you attach it permanently, it's going to require a permit. If you attach it,
Attach it.
If you secure it to the concrete, you've just permanently attached it.
That was actually, they was dug in, the concrete was poured on top of them, so the concrete is not really, they're not attached in, okay, they encased in.
Well, that's one and the same. So basically, we have construction, whether it's going to be 120 or 110 or 80 square feet. But we do have the 656. There are several permits that are required.
I'm good with the 656.
Yes, ma'am.
I believe that the city is willing to withdraw the two sections, 28-391 and 28-304, due to insufficient evidence regarding those sections. If we could proceed with 656, please.
I'm good with that.
And we will catch up with the rest of it from that point. Once those permits are applied, we'll know exactly what the square footage will be.
Okay, anything else from respondents at this point?
Yeah,
I don't know, so, okay, so, and I understand what you're saying, so you're saying because it was concrete, that made it attached structure, so it's a, whether the intent is to cut it back or not, it is an attached structure.
That's the testimony.
That's the testimony you're saying. So regardless of the frame, he still needed a permit to do that.
Yes, ma'am.
So going forward, I guess, I need to understand, he needs to understand, going forward, one, we know that we can't exceed percentage of the square foot of the yard. Also, I guess his understanding was any structure within the 30% whatever of the coverage, as long as it was under 119, it was okay to put it up. But anything that he does now, we're saying that anything going forward, whether it is still under, he just needs to put a permit for everything.
This is what, I'm going to tell you what my ruling is going to be. I'm going to find a violation of 6-56 for the permit requirements, for the electrical, for the plumbing, for the start of the foundation, and not on the maximum density, not on the other two, but you need to keep those in mind for going forward, because it could come back to me if you
electrical-
ignore that.
Okay, so the electrical on running the power box.
Got
of
it
the
wired, it's wired for electrical
Okay.
without having gotten a permit.
house. Oh, so the shed is here.
So
Right.
this,
previous work to the house,
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
that's
Okay,
what
that
it
one. Okay, the one that's from the house, piano from the house. Okay.
Now, what all I need to bring it for that, I got the,
That needs a
that was
permit.
done by a certified electrician. He gave me a paperwork. Right, but that suffices what I have to get from him.
That's something that will.
Okay. That's what
What
we
he's
haven't,
going to
right,
require
see, that's
from
what we
your
haven't done, we don't know exactly what all we need to bring forward, because, like I said, the electrician part was done certified, it's a certified electrician. I got documents, I got the findings that he signed on the electrician part, when we tried to do it, permit. Here we go.
sir,
The plumbing, where's the plumbing coming?
That was
The
the leak
initial-
repair,
The tankless hot water heater. Okay.
water.
Okay.
Which will also require electrical permit for that too.
So electrical and
Yeah,
plumbing
he
with the
did
hot
that.
water. Okay.
what you'll need to do is submit a comprehensive building permit application to the building department and ask them to inspect the plumbing, the electrical, and the square footage improvements.
What was your recommendation for the daily fine, Officer Wright?
I was going to $200 a day since,
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and find a violation only as to the permit, 6-56, so only the one at $250 per day. I will impose costs in the amount of $245.27. The compliance date shall be May 7. So permits need to be pulled by May 7th. get with the city. I can't give you that kind of specific advice that you're looking for, but you need to get with the city and make sure you're getting the permitting done and in compliance by that May 7th date, because we will come back before me for what we call a compliance hearing, where I'm going to talk to you about whether you have come into compliance with this order today and gotten your permits taken care of. And in lieu of getting the permits, you just get rid of whatever you've got out there that is in violation. That's, yes. I can see that he has been working towards compliance. But it has taken a long time, and I can see that the officers have been out there a lot, and that's why the costs are a little bit higher than I normally see, but I can see that they have been out there a lot, because there's a lot of work that's been done out there. So that's going to be my order, the $250 a day for the one violation, compliance date of May 7th, and then we will be back again for a compliance hearing.
I guess one of the calls that I probably got from him, my uncle, I guess there's certain hours too that probably should be working or need to be working, but I know, I can't recall, he's probably getting complaints of trying to get this work done, but he is trying, and we are trying to get it done.
Understood that. I appreciate it. Anything else? Good? All right, thank you for coming.
He's going to,
Over at the, which one? It's,
mind if I come out?
Yeah, are you on the next one too?
I am.
Okay, all right, you'll get the order in the mail. All right, thank you.
If we could please switch the last two on the schedule to allow case number 21-15 to be up next. Officer Frank Lewis will be presenting that matter.
Absolutely.
And there's a respondent in the audience who is not sworn in with the original group.
Okay. I'll get him when he comes up. Hello.
How you doing?
Good.
Are we ready?
You're not going to give me a real complicated one, are you?
I hope not. Okay. First off, in reference to Code Enforcement Special Magistrate case number 21-15, I'd like to enter 3 documents in as evidence. The affidavit of notice violation, the notice of hearing, and the cost recovery statement.
You've handed me what I'll mark as 1, affidavit, notice of violation. Exhibit 2, affidavit and notice of today's hearing. Exhibit 3 is the cost recovery statement showing the city costs totaling $122 even. If you'd like to show these respondent, if you haven't already.
Okay, we ready? Okay, like I said, the special magistrate hearing on case number 21-15, I do need to stress this is the initial hearing on a repeat violation. This case was actually heard for the same thing back in 2019. And it was case 20-03, the code board, I believe it was.
Probably 2020 then, right?
Yes, 2020.
Probably early 2020.
Yes, ma'am. Respondent is Lee Johnson and Carla Johnson. Violation address is 3135 South Casper Place in Titusville, mailed to 3135 South Casper Place. The violation charged is 20-60A on-street parking regulations. The narrative, this is a repeat violation from Code Enforcement Board Case 20-03. The property owner continues to park oversized vehicles, trailers, and equipment in the street and on the property. The trailer in question is an open-type cargo trailer in excess of 14 feet in length. Truck is a box truck rated to carry more than 1 gross ton of weight. And equipment on the property includes a small tracked excavator and a small skid steer type loader. The initial inspection was 1/21/2021. The notice to respondent. Not right. That date's not right, Glenn. Here he is. I got the wrong date on there. I'm sorry. Certified mail was sent on 3/10/21 and on 3/25/21 and returned signed for on 3/13. There's no way you can, I've got dates wrong in there. Okay, the date given to comply on before, the repeat violation, none is required. I've spoken to the owner sometime approximately mid-March. He did call me when he got one of his notices. Follow-up on inspections on 2/10/21, 3/1/21, 3/3/21, 3/9/21, and 3/21/21. The results of re-inspections, this trailer has not been seen in violation anymore. The loader has been removed from the property sometime in late March. I have not seen the truck since then. Section 20-60 on-street parking regulations. It shall be unlawful for any person, either as agent, owner, occupant, lessee, tenant, or otherwise, to park, store, deposit, or allow, cause, or permit to be parked, stored, or deposited on any public or private property in any residential zoning districts in the city, any road tractor, semi-trailer, truck tractor, or any combination thereof, or any other truck or special mobile equipment, or other heavy equipment of whatever type, size, or nature. This photo was taken February the 10th, 2021, approximately 6:25 in the morning. You see the trailer there with the striping on it and the large truck parked in the street. This is a cul-de-sac. There again, it's just different. I apologize for the picture, but it was very foggy that morning. It was hard to take a good picture. This picture was taken March the 1st, 2021. You'll notice on the right side of the house, a little small piece of equipment. And on the same day, there's a truck in the street.
Is that a different
No, ma'am, it's the same truck.
truck?
And on 3/3/21, there's a picture of the skid steer type loader. The recommendation based on the testimony and evidence presented in Titusville Special Magistrate Hearing Case 21-15 and determined that the respondents, Lee Johnson and Carl Johnson, are the owners of record of property located at 3135 South Casper Place, located in Titusville, and determined by the property appraiser's records, in possession or control of property in violation of Titusville Code of Ordinances 20-60A as defined. It is further recommended the special magistrate order respondents to correct a violation on or before no correction date, since it's already been in compliance. In order to correct the thing, the property is currently in compliance. Order respondents to be addressed administrative cost in the amount of $122, and order $500 of a fine day will be issued if the violation continues.
Okay, did you, when was the last time that you saw the loader or the truck or anything that was a violation?
The last time I saw anything there was on the 21st of March.
21st of March,
Yes, ma'am.
but you didn't have a picture of that one, right?
No, not that particular day. The way vehicles were parked there, it was hard to get a picture of it.
So, and then, when was the last time you saw that it was in compliance?
This morning, actually. When I was out on 3/31/2021 to post notice of hearing on the property, there was no violation then.
331?
Yes, ma'am. I did not notice anything there in violation at that time.
And then the first time you saw the violation since the previous time was January 21?
No, ma'am, we received a complaint in January 22nd of 21, and the first violation I saw there was on February the 10th,
Okay,
2021.
okay, I thought you said. Okay. Sir, would you like to come up? And I guess I need to swear you in. Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give
Yes,
will
I
be
do.
the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Can you give me your name, please, and your
Lee.
address?
Lee Johnson,
Okay.
3135 South Casper, Titusville, Florida.
Okay, what's going on with these
Okay.
trucks?
A couple of things. Well, on 110, that loader was not there at that address. That's what the complaint was. From what
210,
my-
210. He said 210 was,
Okay, 210. I got the notice on 3. Possibility there, but I thought it was a little. Anyway, the loader was there because we're putting a batting cage up, setting poles. Every time I do any kind of work there, phone call. And I thought that first phone call was for a car my kid had that we were getting rid of, and we had taken the tag off that. That's what I thought the original one was from. And then each time after that, if I'm doing work at the house, usually on a weekend, I'll bring a truck home and a trailer so I can do the work on the inside. Completely remodeling this house, been an ongoing thing. I bring a truck home full of tools. I'm a general contractor as it is. Understand what my parameters are, what I can't, what I got pull permits for and stuff. We're rebuilding. There's no drywall in the house, so it's a lot of woodwork. So on weekends, that's what I typically do. There's a trailer or something there. It's to haul trash away, so I don't have a dumpster sitting in my driveway because I have several teenage kids that there would be no parking. So the loader I bring home occasionally if I'm gonna do tree work, or I have a place of business that all this stuff stays at, so it's kind of a harassment on the city side and on the side of the neighbor, in my opinion. Every time they probably call, there's probably 100 calls.
the city side, on the first time around, do you have the order from 2003? What was the fine on that one?
So this was a case that came before the code board on February 10th, 2020. And the respondent was previously found in violation, this was at the Massey hearing, previously found in violation of Code Section 656, 20-60A, which is the subject of today's violation, as well as 20-58E, and ordered to bring the property into compliance by February 10th, the date of that Massey hearing. And as of the date of that second hearing, the property was in compliance. The board found that the subject property was in compliance and no fine was imposed. The respondent was ordered to pay the city's cost of prosecution in the amount of $174.07, and I'd like to note that has not been paid. And that was dated February 17th, 2020. There have been other actions on this property, but that was the one that was found in violation prior to the second hearing.
What was the fine?
There was no fine.
No, but I mean, what was the fine that would have been imposed if they hadn't come?
I believe that fine was for a vehicle. From my understanding, a vehicle of my wife's minivan that we sold. I think that's what that fine was for that van being there with no tag on it,
It was a no tag?
what I understand. And that fine was way previous before that. I think it just keeps getting bumped over, I believe.
Well, it's a 5-year window.
I don't know how.
Yeah. Has to be the same violation. So if it was 20-6A, then that's the same violation. Let's try to find one.
I don't know that it was previously set by the board at that first hearing.
Oh. So you know you're not supposed to have the trailer and the truck and the.
Yes,
you
and
know
I
you're not
don't
supposed
park
to.
it there. It's not an everyday occurrence. It's when I do work, I bring if I know that I have a long weekend or something, I bring it home to work on. If I know I'm gonna be around, but
And can you tell from the prior order what the 20-60 violation was for? Or trailer?
So I was misspoken. I'm looking, I found the finding of facts and conclusions of law order, and it says that a fine may be imposed in the amount of $200 per day per violation. Again, there was those 3 cited in that order. And additional language in that findings of fact states that Officer Tuggle, as testified on October 22nd, 2019, and on November 25th, 2019, the following code violations were observed: 2058E, storage of trailer in yard, section 2060A, commercial vehicles / equipment in residential area. And then it goes on to say, respondent was given notices of violation and a reasonable time to bring the property into compliance, but the property was still in violation as of the date of the hearing. And a letter was read into the record from the respondent's neighbor.
what was the date on that one?
The date of the hearing or
that a violation?
the violation was entered February 2020.
No, the one at Tuggle.
So this prior case in 20-03, code enforcement officer testified that on October 22nd, 2019, and on November 25th, 2019, the following code violations were observed. So that was her history of inspection leading up into that case development.
I was understanding that was for a minivan that was there, not for a.
No, that case was regarding commercial equipment.
Okay. At that time, we weren't even living there, so there was a lot of construction going on. Back to that case, more like that's what it says.
Okay, so,
Pulled permits for windows at that time and everything.
can't do anything about that case, but what that case does is establish the initial finding of the violation of 20-60. So that makes this case a repeat violation. So unfortunately, what that means is that every time your neighbor complains and calls an officer out and an officer observes the same violation, they don't even have to give time to correct it. they can bring it before the magistrate. That's, right there, that's 1 day of violation.
I understand, but if you're doing work on your dwelling, you can't do what you have to do work there. And if I bring a truck home with equipment and tools and cabinets and stuff, I can't bring that truck home.
Well, so exceptions are commercial industrial zoning districts, which is not the case. Private property where construction is underway, current and valid building permit has, that was the person's lawful and authorized work upon the premises as part of kennel trucks. Garage, emergency parking of trucks.
I seem to recall testimony by the respondent from the prior case regarding getting a permit to allow for construction equipment. Sir, do you remember making testimony in that regard?
Yes, because before I was doing some paperwork there, and it didn't require a permit
For the purpose
the
of
skid
storing
steer.
vehicles?
And then I was going to do my roof, and I was going to pull the permit because I was going to leave the skid steer there because it's a gravel roof. All the gravel has to come off that roof, and it'd be easier to use the machine to lift up. And yeah, I was going to pull the permit so I could leave the machine there, do it as I had a chance, but I didn't do that. I haven't pulled the permit yet because I'm still finishing the inside before I go to the outside. Next, I got to pull a permit again for my windows and for my stucco work that has to be done on the outside. Right now, the stuff that I'm doing, the cabinet work, the tile work, all the woodwork on the inside does not require permits. Therefore, that's why there's not a permit pulled right now. That's why this equipment appears here and there to do the work. There's probably a truck there right now doing work.
So the exception is persons performing lawful and authorized work upon the premises, vehicle is parked. So there are exceptions for when you're doing work. But, he had a picture, like, in the night,
6:25 in the morning. I've sat and watched him drive by at 6:45 in the morning. They had the trailer there. He called me that day. Hey, I seen that your doors were open. You were probably doing work. And I was. But if I park it there, if I do work till 9, 10 o'clock that night, I've left it overnight and then picked up right there in the morning. Same thing. We have jobs going on and throughout the county, throughout the city. We do leave equipment on jobs if we're continuing the next day.
but it has to be done on your.
Oh yeah, no, I'm saying my job or another job or any job.
So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna find you in violation. I'm gonna find you in violation of the 4 days that he provided evidence of photographs for 2/10/21, 3/1/21, 3/3/21, and 3/21/21. I'm gonna fine $50 a day for those 4 days. And I'm gonna withhold the costs. So the 4 days, $50 a day, and you gotta remove, you can't have.
So I can't bring equipment home. I can't leave it overnight to do if I've done work there that night.
You can have the equipment there while on the premises when you are performing the work on your premises.
That would be with a active permit for that, such as you mentioned, the roof. That would require a permit. As long as it has a valid permit and the actual activity being performed, then yes, that skid steer stay there to travel from. However, as far as an oversized truck, it can arrive there to drop off whatever said building materials that you deliver and then leave as any other normal delivery truck would do. The fact that it is staying there, does remain there.
And I think a lot of people don't understand the issue with the repeat violation. That's why I did set a low daily fine. And it's gonna happen in the future too, so every time you're gonna complain because the truck there, an officer comes out and sees it, that's a day of violation, because you're now you're in a repeat violator status, so gotta keep that in mind from forward as your violator. And as long as you don't have it there, or you contact the city and say, I'm gonna be doing work on my property and I have to have the truck there, and then you talk to the city about that, but right now, about 4 days of it being in repeat violation. All right, and then this will be reduced in writing to an order, and it'll be mailed out to you. Thank you. Other Officer Wright.
I'm back. Is magistrate case number 21-13, the initial hearing for 4230 Osceola Road. First thing I've got for you are 3 exhibits. First one is my affidavit, my notice of violation and mailing. Second one is my affidavit for the post hearing. The third is our cost recovery statement in the total amount of $192.44.
Thank you. Up there. Affidavit. Violation. Hearing. Cost recovery statement. Okay, so our respondent on this property is Brent K. Whitehouse. The violation address and mailing address are the same, 4230 Osceola Road in Titusville. There are 3 violations. Our International Property Maintenance Code subsection 302.4, our weeds overgrowth. Subsection 302.7, our accessory structure, in this case it's a fence. And subsection 304.1, this is general exterior maintenance of the house. So during my regular inspections of the area, I observed a vacant house with grass and weeds over 12 inches in height. The fence around the backyard, it was observed falling down, missing pickets, and deterioration. The roof of the house was observed with a blue tarp, and there's missing soffit, rotten wood along the general exterior of the house. So the initial inspection occurred on October 15th of 2020. Notice of violation was posted on the front door. Certified and first-class mail was sent out October 19th of 2020. They were both returned vacant on April 2 forward on October 26th. The notice of hearing was posted at City Hall and at the property on March 16th, 2021. Certified mail was sent on March 10th of 2021 and returned unclaimed. You don't have any idea where the owner is?
I don't. All we have is the address on the appraisal district, which matches the one in our facility department where they send all the water bills.
It does.
So the date given to comply was November 16th of 2020. There has been no contact with the owner. Follow-up inspections were done on March 17th, December 1st, and December 18th of 2020. January 27th, February 11th, March 16th, April 7th, and morning of 2020. The results of the inspection, all visits to the property found no change. No one cut the grass, the fence has continued to line, and the tarp remains on the roof. So our code sections defined, subsection 302.4, for weed premises and exterior property shall be maintained free from weed and plant growth in excess of 12 inches. Noxious weeds shall be prohibited. Weed shall be defined as all grasses, annual plants, and vegetation other than trees or shrubs provided. However, the term shall not include cultivated flowers and gardens. Subsection 302.7 for accessory structures states accessory structures include attached garages, fences, and walls shall be maintained structurally sound and subsection 304.1 general exterior maintenance. Exterior of a structure shall be maintained in good repair, structurally sound, sanitary as to not pose a threat to health, safety, and welfare. So this is a picture taken on October 8th of 2020 on my section. Front yard, grass and weeds type. Backyard, and grass and weeds. You can start seeing the interior of the house with the tarp. Our fence starting to fall over, down. Also on the house, you can see where we've got rotten wood and missing soffit. Another view of the house itself. The tarp is held on by various have other items just down. My posting of the violation October. So my reinspection on November 17th. Grass and weeds continued to grow on the property. Backyard. And the tarp is starting to deteriorate apart. More of the soffit is missing. Our posting of the notice of at City Hall and on the property of the house. And no change in yard. Our fence. Soffit. And there we can see the roof leak. Rotting the decking. General fence. Portions of the fence starting to fall down along the sidewalk. Again, our exterior, our tarp on the roof. And I did go back out on April 7th. I stopped this date was that a fence section had fallen in. The recommendations based on testimony and evidence presented in 21-13 is determined that the respondent's Brent K. Whitehouse is the owner of record on the property located at 4230 Osceola Road, located in Titusville, Florida. As determined by the property appraiser's records, is possession or control of the property, was in violation of section 6-109, subsection 302.4, 302.7, 304.1 as defined. And we further recommend that we order the respondent to correct the violations on or before May 7th, 2021. In order to correct the violations, the respondents must repair or remove the fence, fix holes, breaks, rotted material on the exterior of the structure, applying paint to those repaired materials, remove grass and weeds over 12 inches in height from the property. Also recommended to order the respondent to be assessed the administrative cost in the amount of $192.44. If the respondent does not comply by May 7th, a fine of $25 per violation per day should be imposed each day of the violation.
staff's recommendation. Proposing a compliance date of May 7, 2021, fine of $25 per violation. Proposed costs in the amount of $192. Back for thank you. Adjourned.
Thank you, ma'am.
Relatively. Guys had me working there on that one.